Welcome to the No Balls podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McDonald, with me co-host Sheldon Kaufman. Today, we are doing the Clippers off-season recap and preseason predictions episode. If you don't know how this works, we give every team their own full-length episode, ultimately ending in a full 30-team predictions. Here we are with the Los Angeles Clippers. Surely nothing big and consequential happened with them this offseason, but we're still going to talk about everything they did. Obvious foreshadowing. I guess that's not foreshadowing, but regardless, we will first have a Clippers related trivia question that Sheldon has got for me today. We'll see if I can get it right.
All right, Pat. In the 2019 playoffs, the Clippers overcame a 31-point deficit to beat what team in Game 2 of the first round? It was Game 2 of the first round.
You said 19?
2019.
Yeah, this is the Warriors year, right? This is the Montrezl Harrell, Pat Bev, Lou Williams. Yeah, this is the Warriors.
Wow, that was way quicker than I expected. Yeah, it was the Warriors. They ended up losing 130, or they ended up winning 135 to 131, thanks to Montrezl Harrell dropping 25, Lou Williams dropping 36, and Danilo Gallinari dropping 24. Those are the scoring headlines of that game. It's an absolutely stacked Warriors team. Down 31 coming back against that team is pretty impressive, especially when it happened. And they were up 31 in the third quarter, so they came back pretty quick.
That game alone, probably single-handedly swayed Kawhi's decision to go to the Clippers that offseason way too much than it should have, because it made this fake narrative that the Clippers were a deep team when Kawhi was leaving a obviously deeper and better team in Toronto. Just like if you take Kawhi off of that Toronto Raptors team, they were still way better than that Clippers team. And it was kind of crazy. And he could have been playing with actual good players. Instead, it was fake good Montrezl Harrell and sixth man exclusive Lou Williams, and then the Paul George trade ended up happening. We'll talk about that. Well, maybe not that trade, but we'll talk about the Kawhi Leonard Clippers a little bit here. We'll start with the 2025 team, which both of us had very different paths thinking about this 2025 Clippers team. You were all over them from the jump. I was very skeptical going into the season, and I was fully bought in come playoff time, even though we both thought they were going to lose to the Nuggets. I think the statement was that this was probably the best Kawhi Leonard Clippers team that we've ever seen. And I kind of think I believe that, even though they didn't win but 3 playoff games this year. They were 50-32, fifth in the Western Conference their expected record was 53-29, fifth in the NBA. Their SRS of a 4.84 was sixth in the NBA, which, if you do not know how SRS works, it is opponent quality adjusted net rating. How well did you play against your opponents? The Clippers were a top 6 team. They were very good in that metric. At home, they were 30-11. On the road, they were 20-21. Pre-All-Star break, they were 31-23. Post All-Star break, they were 19-9, going into the playoffs scorching. Versus the Eastern Conference, they were 21-9. Versus the West, they were 29-23. In the clutch games, they were 19-18 with a 0.2 net rating. That was 15th in the NBA, so average clutch team. What stood out the most about this Clippers season for you?
Yeah, Pat. Like you said, post All-Star break, this team was scorching 19-9 heading into the playoffs. Ended up giving them the 5th seed, which was unfortunate because they ended up going against a really tough Nuggets team who took the eventual champs OKC Thunder to 7, and people on the Thunder were saying that was the hardest matchup they went up against. And if you look at that series, there were a lot of buzzer beaters, a lot of crazy buzzer beaters. One of them being the Aaron Gordon tip dunk in 0.1 seconds left to win the game. You can see how that kind of hurt them when they're 19-18 in clutch games last year during the regular season, and 15th overall in that rating. Maybe that ended up playing a part in that series. Who knows? But this team definitely turned it around. People probably remember, but Kawhi was missing for half the year. Didn't really come back to playing full minutes until January, and even then he was still limited. They ended up making a trade for Boban, or uh,
Bogdan.
Bogdanovich, and he ended up having a really good year for them, dropping 11.4 points off of great shooting from the 3 point line, 42%. He was the guy that they traded for midseason. Not they didn't make any huge splashes at the deadline, but they made a bunch of solid trades. Bogey being one of them, and he ended up being pretty good. Uh, James Harden, he had another great season, ended up being an all star. Kawhi showed that he still has a lot left in the tank, I think, not only defensively but offensively as well. He played good there, and Zubac solidified himself as a top center in the league. Like he played really good ball, not only defensively, like doing really good against Jokic, as good as you can, but also offensively, especially like he really thrived in the pick and roll. Like that's kind of what they based a lot of their offense around. I'm sure we're about to see in the slide coming up. Um, but yeah, overall a great season for the Clippers. Unfortunate what happened, but I mean, this year they made some moves, maybe made themselves a little deeper. I think it gave themselves a little bit more offense. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see how this season ends up for the Clippers.
We would be remiss to not also mention Norm Powell as a huge part
Yes.
of the 25 Clippers. We were all over Norm Powell as a good player. We didn't think he was going to be an almost all-star. Now we'll always tell you that any NBA player can average 21 points a game if they're given a ton of shots. And, well, not every single one of them. Jericho Sims can't get that many layups a game, but uh, most NBA players can average 21 points a game. It's just how good is that 21 points per game? Norman Powell was pretty good, right? But he further builds that case. He took a huge step forward last year. Ivica Zubac took a great step forward last season with no Kawhi Leonard. They relied on him more as a self-creator. Him and James Harden had this awesome pick and roll pairing, and we'll talk about that a little bit. They just saw a bunch of steps forward from a ton of guys, and you mentioned the deadline stuff. They cooked at the deadline. We'll get into that, of course. Um, Offensively, they had a 115.1 offensive rating, which ranked 24 or 14th, which was basically dead average, 27th in preventing turnovers, 23rd in gaining offensive rebounds, and then 22nd in pace. So not particularly great at the ancillary offensive skills. Play top wise, they were 5th in isolation efficiency and 1st in frequency. So that was a huge part of their offense. Um, Pick and roll handler frequent or efficiency was 14th. Roller frequent, jeez, roller efficiency was 21st, 7th in post up efficiency, and then 20th in transition efficiency. It's been a good bit since we recorded this last one. I'm a little bit rusty. Um, Other standouts there, high volume of transition offense and post-up offense were huge parts about their team this past season. Offensively, what were the keys for you?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that that pick and roll stuff is lower. I thought it'd be a lot higher considering some of the things I saw watching the games. But isolation stuff makes sense. You have James Harden, one of the best or he has a really deep ISO bag. Um, Kawhi Leonard as well. These are guys you want to have get the ball. Even Norm Powell too had a lot of ISO opportunities. Post up stuff makes sense. You have Kawhi who has great turnaround jumper. You have Zubac who is really good at backing guys down in the post. That's what they want to run their offense around, and that's what they did. As you see, eighth in frequency and post up. Transition stuff. It's good that they're getting out there, but they weren't really converting that great efficiency wise. Uh, that always hurts. Like even if you're getting out there, if you're not converting, it doesn't really help you. The pay stuff, it kind of makes sense. It's an older team. Um, they got to conserve the energy, right? So they're not going to go up and down the court. Uh, the offensive rebounding stuff and the turnovers that definitely jumps out at me, and it's probably why this offense was only 14th ranked. You got to get rebounds, uh, especially when you have guys that can, like Zubac. He's a big body. Norman Powell could get boards. Kawhi Leonard, really great length and strong. And then the turnovers, you have James Harden, like who's done really good at taking care of the ball, but not last season. 4 turnovers a game, struggled a little bit in that department. And you can see that they were a little sloppy with it. 27th ranked turnover percentage wise. You're muted, Pat. Pat, I think you're muted.
Let's go. It was finally me this time that was muted. Harden was a better, over the course of his career, has typically been better relative to the league isolation wise than pick and roll wise. And he's just continued to take slight steps back in that area as he's aged. Just slightly less explosive, can't get to the rim as much. But he's still like a very good self creator. He's an awesome passer in creating shots for teammates. Like you said, a little bit more turnover prone as he progresses, but since he has become more turnover prone, they know they can't just force feed him pick and roll reps. They adapted. Avisa Zubac big in the post up numbers this past season. Kawhi Leonard, they've given him a ton of not like old actions, but like mid 2000s actions. A lot of the same stuff that you would see with uh, Lakers Kobe Bryant, or always Lakers Kobe Bryant, but like high volume scoring Kobe Bryant seasons where they're getting him high post touches where he can drive out of those. A lot of fun stuff for Kawhi, and they have to simplify it as well for Kawhi because he's not a great decision maker. Making quick reads, and he can get overwhelmed at times. So they're not going to run a ton of pick and rolls with him. And even like you look at their other, good individual scores. Norm Powell was a very good off the catch, movement shooter type of guy last season. So not too many reasons to use him as a pick and roll handler. And then, the guys who they did run pick and roll with, our common thing is bad teams run pick and roll. Well, they had their bad players run pick and rolls. Was what they did. Bones Highland and Kevin Porter Jr. were just around 30% of their play types, and they were to mixed results. And then other than that, there was like a huge drop. I think Harden and Bogey were around 27%, and then it goes all the way down to 21% for Kawhi Leonard, and then it's like nobody else ran pick and rolls. So uh, pretty interesting, pretty good offense considering they played only 37 games with Kawhi Leonard, and he was really, really working his way back for this first start of that part. So, defensively, and we have to mention too, they were a year ago, they did miss a ton of Kawhi, but they had Paul George. So there's a huge adjustment in that part of things. Defensively, they were third in defensive rating at a 110.3. They were eighth in forcing turnovers, first in securing defensive rebounds. Shout out Big Zoo. Isolation defense was fifth. Ball handler defense was third. Roller defense was eighth. Post up defense was sixth. Transition defense was 12th. Teams didn't run on them in transition, 21st frequency. And then, of course, eighth in isolation frequency, very good. We like to see that. Those are not efficient possessions. And then ball handler frequency was sixth. Again, those are not typically very uh, efficient possessions. We like to see that. This was a great, great defense this past season. What were the huge keys for you on their defense? It can obviously transition to scheme because it typically does.
Yeah, this was their bread and butter was their defense. Like you see, the offense wasn't that great, but they still were a really good team, fifth in the conference. It's because of their defense. You can see the teams really couldn't do anything. Zubac provided like elite rim protection, so whenever they got down there, they would get deterred. Um, Having guys like Kawhi, Norman Powell, Chris Dunn, those guys have being in your scheme was really effective. Chris Dunn was an incredible on-ball defender this year. He played really good. He was in the start, and the reason he was in the starting lineup was because of that defense. Played a really good role there. Um, yeah, I think they did a great like Zubac did great defending pick and rolls. As you can see, they weren't getting hurt in that area at all, and teams wouldn't even roll on them. They weren't giving up transition. They were creating turnovers. They were getting rebounds. This is everything you want in a good defense, and it was one of the best in the league last season. Uh, Really, the reason that they were so good.
Yeah, like we went into the season maybe a little bit questioned on their defense. I think the year before they were a good defense. I can get quick confirmation on where they were in 23, 24, but they were a pretty good defense that season. And we had questions with them losing Paul George. Okay, they were 17th. They were a good offense that season. Okay, and they were 17th, losing Paul George, Kawhi Leonard going into the year missing a ton of time, and we were really questioning like, where's the defense going to come from? And a lot of their scheme 2 years ago was they were a very switch heavy team because they have Kawhi Leonard, they have Paul George, they had gotten James Harden, so you know, that doesn't really play too much into it. And then we were thinking like, okay, they switch a lot of actions, and Zubac is obviously not a switch big. He's an obvious drop big candidate, and they went to a lot more drop big scenarios this past season. Um, and their defense just like carried them through the first part of the season. I think their offense was like generally pretty bad through the start of the season, and then it picked up later, as the season progressed, as they implemented more offensive strategy with how they operated using Zubac's post ups, like we said. That was something that progressively even got more as the season continued, and they just got more familiar with, oh, we don't need to use these garbage players, and they ended up trading a lot of those garbage players and got good players in return. Um, but Zubac's defense was awesome. His on-off on defense um, was a +6 on defense. Zubats was like awesome for them this year, like undoubtedly like an All NBA caliber player for a season stretch, which is great. He caused the team to secure 3.5 more rebounds per 100 possessions, which is like really, really good. They actually blocked more shots with Zubac on the bench, but that's like Mo Bamba getting blocked shots. He's gonna still get his blocked shots, but he doesn't play good defense. Zubac was awesome, great at the rim, contesting shots, securing rebounds, all of those things. Like Zubac was so awesome last season, and he went from a guy who like was like a good player, average starter, to like, oh my goodness, this is an all-star lock, all NBA candidate. And I think he should have been the guy getting all-star love rather than Norm Powell. I think you and I both kind of mentioned it at the all-star break. That was what we thought. He would have fit in great with the international draft as well, even though they have a ton of international centers. So other than that, did you have anything else on their defense?
No, I thought they just did a good job of letting guys, like, if they're gonna get past them, let them get past me to the middle of the floor where Zubac can clean everything up. And I thought they also did a good job of when people got past them, there was a lot of help defenders and guys would rotate to that painted area and account for the shooters on the at the arc as well.
And they have a ton of veterans that are like no bullshit veterans. Like if you do something stupid, Nick Batum will chew your ear out for it. And Chris Dunn, oh yeah, we have to mention Chris Dunn. I don't know how we went through the defensive section, 5 minutes in before you mentioned him. Yeah, in order to play drop defense. Oh, oh, sorry, what'd you say? Hold up, you're good. I think you can speak now. Okay, I'll get you.
Okay. I just said I did mention him before. I said that his defense is incredible. Like, and that was the reason he was in the starting lineup this season.
Yeah,
But yeah, keep
100%.
talking about him. Yeah.
Yeah, in order to play drop defense, you need to have a guard who can chase over screens. And they had a couple guys who they thought they could do that with, and none of them are as good as Chris Dunn at doing it. And Chris Dunn was really, really awesome this past year. Like, there are no words that we can use to describe how good Chris Dunn was at his defensive role this year. Really disruptive. I think he was the best point of attack defender this past season. And I don't think that's a crazy statement. I mean, you can argue like, maybe Caruso because he has a more wider range of people that he can guard. But if you're just talking about guarding guards this past season, yeah, Chris Dunn was staying in front of his man as good as anybody in the league. And that includes Dyson Daniels, Steel Merchant, who's still very good at defense. But Team scheme and coaching staff. Head coach Tyronn Lue, general manager Trent Redden, assistant coaches Cookie Bleacher or Belcher, awesome name, best name that we've probably read in the assistant coaches section. Brian Shaw and Larry Drew are also assistant coaches here. We can talk about scheme, we can talk about general management, coaching, anything we want to talk about here. What do you got?
Yeah, I can talk. We'll quickly mention the general manager stuff. Like really sneaky good acquisitions, I think, during the trade deadline that helped them be so good last season, and even the addition this year, that being Bradley Beal, who I think can bring a lot to the Clippers offense. Going out and getting Bogey and getting Kevin Porter Jr. For pretty much nothing from Milwaukee, and he comes in and is like actually a really solid player for you. Um,
It was the opposite. They traded him to Milwaukee.
oh, oh, they did trade him to Milwaukee. Oh, never mind then. That might have been a bad
I
move.
got you.
Oh yeah, I totally blanked on that. Oh well, but the bogey move was really good. I liked what he was able to bring as like a shooter, something that they didn't really have coming off the bench that really helped them, especially from that shooting guard position. As far as the Tyronn Lue stuff, the way that he was able to use Zubac for screening, like even if it wasn't on ball, like the off ball screens that Zubac would do to create like space for guys like Kawhi, like you mentioned, getting at the high post, like with a favorable matchup or at least an advantage in the matchup where he can blow past the guy or shoot that mid range that he's so good at. Just a lot of off ball screens like that. A lot of 5 out spacing, letting like you saw the first in isolation, they would let Harden go to work. Let him if he gets past the guy, either shoot a layup or dump it off the Subac, wait in that dunker spot for the easy dunk, or hit a step back three. There's a lot of ball movement too, which is really good from them. They wanted to pass up open shots to get even better shots, and we saw that a lot, especially as the year progressed. Um, yeah, I would say pretty. That's kind of my takeaway from all of it.
Yeah, it was a simple but effective offense. And it's because they had to play simple. Harden can't. He, he's always played a certain strategy or a certain style of play, and now that he's older, he doesn't run it as effectively. So you do need to keep it simple for him. But you mentioned the ball movement. They had a ton of ball movers. Nicholas Batum is a ball mover. Chris Dunn, a former point guard, is a ball mover. Bogey, once they got him there, was a good ball mover. Ben Simmons, they got at the deadline on the buyout market. He was a decent player for them this season, for the stretches that they played. When he played on the court, they had a 120 offensive rating, um, which which is obviously pretty good. And yeah, they played a good style of basketball once they moved off of their shitters at the deadline, because they had some guys they had to shed. Um, we'll move forward though. I think they did a good job. GM Redden, way to go, man. We'll talk about this pick though. On draft night, I like at the time of the pick, I was like, I 100% am expecting Giannis Niederhauser to be their pick. I would not have really considered drafting Giannis Niederhauser in the first round of the draft. But he does fit a need that the Clippers have. He gives them a real rim runner from the center position, and he's somebody who's at least older. He's 23 years old, I think now. Maybe not 23. Maybe he's 21, 22 now. But yeah, he's a very limited player, but he's somebody who they have, James Harden, who they can help take advantage of the little bit of skills that he does have. Um, 3-year player this past year. He was really a forward in college. Uh, kind of struggled to rebound the basketball, but he did block 2 shots a game for each of the last 2 seasons. Uh, really, like, just a lob finisher on the defensive side of the floor. Off on the offensive side of the floor.
Oh, my bad, my bad, my bad.
No, you're good.
Oh, he's gonna get too far into it.
Yeah, I kept speaking during it, but I low key botched it, so I'll redo it.
All right, bad, bad, bad. My bad.
You're good. So we'll move forward to a pick that I called on draft night that the Clippers were gonna make, but it was one that I obviously didn't like at the time, and that was Giannis Niederhauser, 30th overall. He is a player with a very limited skill set, but it is a skill set that they could maximize. So, you can squint at it and kind of like it. He is a lob finishing forward who was an okay rebounder, like not a good rebounder to like where you think he can play center. Um, and he like blocked 2 shots a game each of his last 2 seasons in college. He's already almost 21 years old, I believe, um, or almost 22 years old. He's not like a terrible player. Like he's obviously someone who can have an NBA role, but I'll let you go on Yannick, and if you have something that you want to get out on him.
I mean, I think you pretty much covered all of it. 6'11", 7'3" wingspan. He's a guy that gives you pretty good rim protection. Like you said, 2.3 blocks per game. He had good timing on his blocks, pretty good mobility for his size. Uh, really good lob threat. You said it. I think that if they want to go back, if they want to run some pick and roll, this is a guy they could do it with because he gives you that lob capability. Um, yeah, and I think that maybe his post game is something that can be developed. I think it's going to be one of his strengths, especially starting out in the NBA. But like you said, he's very limited. Can't really pass the ball that well. Uh, can't really shoot the ball that well either. He's foul prone as well, especially on the defensive side. Um, and the offensive game is just we it's going to be interesting to see how he can score on his own. Like I said, I think the post stuff could help, but I don't know how much of a factor it will be initially in the NBA. But like you have a guy that like Zubac, who is although a lot better, obviously he is pretty limited offensively. Like he's not a guy that can stretch the floor. He's a big that works in the post. Definitely a way better rebounder, way bigger, but I mean, maybe a guy that you can model Niederhausen's game after potentially, and I think that's like what you said. You can squint at it and see like this may work, but I think that's really the only way I can see it is because they have a similar guy that they had have so much success. So maybe he can go under Zubac's wing and become a decent small ball center slash four.
Yeah, the one thing I would point to though is Avisa Zubats is a legit 7 feet tall and
Yeah.
like 240 pounds, and Yannick is 6'10", almost 210. It's rough to like project Zubats for me. I mean, he's like your third string type center guy is what he projects to be, and like that can be okay, but not somebody who I thought was worth a first round pick. And like, you can come back this time next year when the Clippers draft another old college player who shouldn't have gone in the first round in the first round. I mean, they do it every year, it feels like. They did it the year before with Cam Christie, where like, he's a fine player, but he's not somebody we're locking in as a first round pick. And yeah, I mean, it's like Lawrence Lawrence Frank is he kind of gets credit as the general manager. Sometimes it's read in it, like we said, teams are very weird with displaying who's actually in charge. But I would just say like this is his Achilles heel is like, oh my goodness, his drafting is pretty rough. And maybe some of it is because he's always using the Thunder's picks because of the Paul George swap, where they're entitled to pick swaps until Steve Ballmer goes broke or something. It's just really rough. Kobe Sanders. Did you have anything on Kobe Sanders?
Yeah, I got a little bit off him. 6'7" with a 6'8" wingspan. Played at Nevada last season. Averaged 15.8 points per game, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Shot 46 from the field and 34% from the 3-point line. Really good like size and versatility. Like I said, 6'7", and he is uh, he can play both. He can play the wing. He can also initiate, Pat. I think that's the thing that's very interesting about him. Like I said last season, 4.5 assists. So he has like playmaking ability as a big man, which definitely is going to help him. Uh, really good at hitting cutters, especially last season. He has the ability to stretch the floor, 34% from the 3-point line. Although it's inconsistent at times, and there's um, a little worry about the shot. The shot's a little slow, mechanics wise, but I mean, he has the ability to stretch the floor at least. Good mid range, which we'll see how that works here in this modern NBA. But you have a guy like Kawhi that gets a lot of mid range touches, so maybe we could see him get some sort of role like that. And he's a really good defender. Um, he can guard the full length of the court. He can guard in half court. He's a guy that's going to give you effort on defense, and you always love to see that from rookies coming in. Uh, things that thing to worry about him is like I said, just the shooting mechanics. We'll see how the shot ends up being in the NBA. And he struggled at time getting to the rim and finishing. He often got deterred many times by shot blockers and like legit rim protectors. So we'll see if he's able to convert there. But um, overall, you're getting a good wing that can play defense for you, can play make, and has the ability to stretch the floor. And he's a good finisher though. I mean, good scorer inside the arc, and also when he's able to get his shots up in the paint.
Yeah, I kind of liked Kobe Sanders going into the draft. Plus he's like a combo wing, I would say. He's a 2-3 type of player. I thought the passing is like pretty promising as a wing player. 4 assists a game is pretty damn good. This past year he was at like a 30% assist rate and 11% turnover rate. That's like actually like really respectable for a league creator. And then you mentioned some of the scoring efficiency concerns. I think a lot of it will be an issue, but like won't be magmatized because his role won't be to be a lead scorer in the NBA. I think the shot is possibly fine. 34% each of the last 2 years on almost 4 attempts a game. His free throw shooting over the past 3 years has been close to 80%, even over 80% actually over the past 3 years. And I think he's just a good player. I thought the defense was like something that he can improve on, but like it isn't terrible. Like he's 6'6", he's pretty skinny, like slight of frame, but he can play a little bit out there, and I'm sure like if Tyronn Lue gets a lengthy wing who clearly has basketball intelligence on the floor, they can find something out of him on defense. I kind of had which of these two guys did you like more as a draft prospect?
I don't know. I think Yannick can do some things. I'm not totally riding the ship off right now. But as far as like a prospect, I mean Sanders does provide you at least some versatility offensively, and he can play defense like well too. And he actually can pass. I think prospect wise, I'd probably go Kobe Sanders, but I don't think I think Yannick can find a place on this Clippers team, especially as like a backup big role.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
finalizing up my like just finishing up all the write-ups for my 25 draft because I had only done a couple of them pre-draft, but I was looking at it and I was like, oh, I have almost all of the first round picks. Who did I not put? Oh, 30th overall Yannick, and I was like, oh, Kobe Sanders had like 2 spots ahead of him on the draft ranking, which is it's just weird. I think it was partially because I was lower on Yannick and higher on Kobe Sanders than the NBA was. We'll see how that pans out. Other than that, I mean, this is just a weird, 30th overall and 50th overall draft. Maybe they get one NBA player out of it. That's a realistic outlook. We'll see if that ends up happening. Moving forward to their acquisitions, Chris Paul they get on a league minimum. Brooke Lopez they get on 18 over 2. Um, Bradley Beal they get on 11 over 2. Jamal Telford was a UDFA who they gave an Exhibit 10 to. Jackson Preston, they give an Exhibit 10, and then they trade for John Collins. What stands out about these acquisitions for you?
I think a lot of them. First, we can talk about Bradley Beal. They got him on a buyout. Averaged 17 points per game last season for the Suns, and he just kind of struggled to find his role there. I mean, his first season in the Suns was pretty good. At least shooting the ball, like he shot 43% from the line or from the 3 point line. 38% last season as well, but he never could really find his role. It felt like they put him on the bench like halfway through the season. He balled out there, ended up coming back. I think a fresh start is definitely going to help Bradley Beal. Being with all these veterans, like this is a really good coach in Tyronn Lue. Like this is going to be a very disciplined team. Something that we didn't really see in Phoenix. Like because in Phoenix the Stars ran the show, but like averaged 17 points per game. Also had 3.7 assists, so close to 4 assists on the season. Not bad playmaking wise. Um, yeah. I'll talk about Brooke Lopez, or do you want to talk about Bradley Beal after me? Yeah.
I didn't realize it was this bad until I looked at the basketball reference page. When do you think the last time Bradley Beal played more than 60 games?
Probably in like more than 60. 2020, 2021.
2018-19.
Wow, wow, wow. Damn, that's crazy. Okay, well, yeah, that's definitely a concern then.
Yeah, we always bake in the injury concerns with these older players, but with Bradley Beal, like it is really like because he's never had a season-ending injury. He's played like 50 or more games in every season. But he always misses like he has multiple 3-week injuries every year, and it just kills his games played total. And then it's been so weird. He's still good, and I think that's what gets lost a lot in the NBA spheres. He wasn't worth 50 million. Getting him for 5.5 is, yeah, that's what Bradley Beal is worth. Probably a little bit more than that even. Like he's still a fine player. He can shoot the ball, and like at the very least, how much different of a player talent wise is he from Norm Powell? Like I don't know. We'll weigh those things up against each other once we grade the offseason. Brook Lopez was the guy who you wanted to segue to next. He kind of he got a reputation as Brick Feet Brook. Part of that's pretty fair. Part of that is Brook Lopez is a 36-year-old center. Why is he playing all of your center minutes? That's pretty unfair for him. And now he's 37 and he's going to be coming off the bench. So he can still shoot the ball for a center. Can still protect the rim when he's at the rim in a very similar way to Ivica Zubac, where you need to funnel guys to Brook Lopez. Otherwise, Brook Lopez is not going to be able to chase and recover. It's going to allow them to play the same defensive scheme when they go to the bench, which I think is pretty good. And Brook Lopez can do it in a way he can do it on defense and then not disrupt the team on the offensive side of the floor because you can just stick him in the corner. You can't do that with many other backup centers. I think this is like honestly a pretty good pickup as well. And then Chris Paul, offensive organizer. They didn't really have a backup point guard last season. And Chris Paul, if we want to talk about the injury stuff, did start all 82 games last season for San Antonio. So the unction may have a durable veteran in Chris Paul. It is announced this is his last season, I believe, as well. So he will not be saving his body for next season.
Yeah, hats off to Chris Paul and his career. And Brooke Lopez played in 80 games last season too, Pat. So these guys may be older, but they're definitely playing. And like you said, I think like getting Brooke Lopez on a back as a backup role is really good. Like you mentioned, the ability to shoot the ball. He shot one of his highest 3 point percentages in his career this season or last season. So he still has that ability. It gives you a different look coming off the bench. He's able to stretch the floor, but also it gives you like the same sort of defensive type player. Like you said, you don't have to switch much up on the defensive side. And Chris Paul was incredible. Like not only did he play 80 game like all 82 games last season, but he also like just another year of being a great playmaker. And when he had to shoot the ball, he was making it too, 37% from three. But the playmaking, he unlocked Wemby. Wemby looked really good this year, and a lot of it, well, not all of it, but a part of it had to do with Chris Paul and his playmaking. He averaged 7 assists last season. This is like a true pass first guard now in his career. I really like these pickups. These are like really good bench rolls, and they give you so much depth now. Like you go from James Harden to Chris Paul. Obviously, that would have meant a lot more like 10 years ago, but like it still does mean something nowadays. Same thing with Lopez and Zubac.
And if you want to talk, we talked about Nick Batum being a bet that'll get on you if you're doing some bullshit. Chris Paul will get on you if you're doing some bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think he's very key, even though they don't have any young players, he's very key for getting the most out of players who are, fighting for their NBA careers at the very least. And they've had a ton of guys who have fought their way back through their NBA careers on this Clippers team under Tyronn Lue. They just have a knack for doing it. And yeah, I think Chris Paul is like a great backup point guard to get, especially as a veteran. Gives you so much passing. He can organize. He's an assistant coach in the on the bench for you, and in the game when he's in the game. So we haven't even talked about the best player that they got in John Collins. Um, John Collins, unlike Chris Paul and Brook Lopez, was not available. Now that comes with the asterisk that Utah was probably making up some injuries for John Collins this past season. Um, because John Collins is playing really awesome and winning them games. He averaged 19 a game, and we're not the points per game podcast, but over the last 2 seasons, he shot 3.5 threes a game at 37% and 40%. He's also a great athletic finisher. His free throw shooting has ticked up the past 2 seasons. His defense, it can get better, but it's like not bad. He's athletic, he has length, and like when he was on a good team, his defense was not an issue. It was just, not a strength of his game. Um, I think John Collins is like by far the best player they got. He can play small ball five. He can play at the four. He can do a ton of things for you, and I think he's a great piece to get. I'll let you go on John Collins.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much mentioned it. He gives you ability to shoot, great finisher, plays a little bit of defense. Um, he had one of his like best seasons coming like in the Jazz uniforms last season, so he's coming off a good year, and he's actually playing winning basketball again for the first time in like 3 years. So I think he's definitely excited for the change of scenery and excited to make an impact like day one. Um, yeah, I really like the John Collins pickup. Really, really under the radar, but you're getting such a good player who's, probably he's gonna start for you.
They've actually announced that he will not be starting, so
Oh,
we'll get
oh
into that in
wow.
the lineups.
All right. Well,
Um,
never mind. That's a great piece coming off the bench then. Jeez.
yeah, that's like an awesome piece off the bench. One of the better bench players in the league. Um, we'll go to notable losses for them. Norm Powell goes to Miami. Amir Coffey goes to Milwaukee. Drew Eubanks goes to the Kings. Seth Lundy, Patty Mills, and Ben Simmons are all unsigned. Um, Obviously, there's like one huge loss here in Norm Powell. They trade him to Miami because they knew that they were getting Bradley Beal and they were getting John Collins in exchange for Norman Powell. So it made sense for them to do that. Um, yeah, other than that, is there much to cover on these losses for you?
No, no. I think the biggest one, like you said, was Norman Powell. He had a really good year for them last season, 21 points per game, and was one of their most reliable shooters down the stretch. It hurts, but like we talked about all those guys they brought in, I don't know if it hurts too much. So
Let's pour one out to the Ben Simmons career. Um,
yeah,
I really don't think he's that bad. I think he just is literally not willing to accept the fact that he's a minimum player now. And I thought he was fine for the Clippers last season once he got there. He was pretty bad for the Nets, but that's what the Nets wanted him to do. They wanted him to be bad. Um, But yeah, like I do think he can contribute to a team in the right context. And I thought the Clippers were a pretty decent context, but it's not in the league anymore. We'll look at their sheets, uh, crediting to Spotrac. This is what the real Kawhi Leonard deal is, not the one that you're hearing about. 50 million a year. James Harden has an option after this season, player option. We'll see if he opts in or opts out. John Collins has a huge expiring contract. This Zubac deal is actually a scam. He's getting highway robbery, uh, you know, forged against him. That's just absolutely crazy that that deal exists. And then there's these mid-range deals with Bogey, Derek Jones Jr., a lot of their acquisitions here. They are pretty cap free, or cap friendly with some of their like veteran players, not tied up long term. That shows up here. This is before the off season, obviously, but in two off seasons, because this is next off season. This is the off season after. They will have max cap space of 150 million. It's been well talked about what their cap space plan is going to be back then, or way in the future. We'll see what ends up happening out of that. We'll see how that affects the current, you know, year and two before that. So we're actually getting to the lineup data. We mentioned this being one of the best Kawhi Leonard Clippers teams, and that was because this is the least amount of games Kawhi has played for the Clippers, and they still won 50 games. When him and Zoo shared the floor in almost 1,000 minutes, they were plus 15 and a half. You add Harden, it's still 15 and a half. You add Powell, it's a plus 17. Derek Jones Jr. on the floor, it's a plus 23. Chris Dunn, it's a plus 10. Bogey, it's a plus 20. Nick Batum, it's a plus 20. Like, no matter what you did with this pairing of Kawhi and Zubats, it was awesome results this past season. If you look at the players who played a lot for them last season, so 300 plus minutes and had a negative net rating, Mo Bamba, no longer in the NBA. I actually don't even know how he popped up here unless I missed him on the lineups screen. If Mo Bamba's still in the league and or on the Clippers, and I forced him off the team, I am apologizing to Mo Bamba. Yeah, he's on the Jazz. I don't know. I didn't put him in the losses, um, for some reason. Terrence Mann, they traded him last season. They might have traded Mo Bamba last year. That's probably what it was. Yeah, they traded him last year. Um, Terrence Mann, uh, he played 300 plus minutes with a negative net rating. Amir Coffey and KPJ, they were two of like the pretty bad ones. Um, Shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks. Those guys might be playing big minutes for them. And then Jordan Miller is the one guy who is still on the team. Um, if we just want to look at the guys they brought in instead, KPJ was like quite literally a salary dump. I think they got Beauchamp in return and instantly cut Beauchamp. Terrence Mann, they traded him to Atlanta for uh, Bogey. So Bogey was very good with them after really struggling with the Hawks to start the season. In Bogey's minutes played, they were plus 9, and Bogey had a 62 true shooting. Pretty solid. I think they once they brought in Ben Simmons, we'll count him at the deadline because I think that's part of why they did the Kevin Porter Jr. and cut the returning player deal. In the Ben Simmons minutes, they were plus 2 with a 120 offensive rating. You know, how much of that was Ben Simmons, I don't know, but he did play a part. Uh, Based off of this lineup data, I've assembled this new lineup right here. James Harden, Bradley Beal, Derek Jones Jr., Kawhi Leonard, and Ivica Zubac. They've said that they're not starting John Collins, so I was like kind of torn between Chris Dunn and Derek Jones Jr. as the third starter. I ultimately sided with Jones Jr. because Chris Dunn, Bradley Beal, and Harden is a like very small front three or backcourt of three players, and then Kawhi Leonard's going to miss so many games that Derek Jones Jr. probably just ends up starting a lot anyway. So, give myself a little bit of insurance there. I don't know if they've officially announced it. And they have been playing some preseason games, but I don't really know if everybody's been playing in them. What do you think about this lineup?
I like this one. If you're not gonna have Collins in, I think it's a good alternative, better than putting Batum out there. Just I think Batum's way better off the bench. And I agree, having Chris Dunn in there just like makes your lineup super small, and I think it just puts you at a disadvantage. And Derrick Jones Jr. can play, not only defensively, like he can bring good defense, but play decent offense for them last year too, like 10 points per game and was shooting pretty average from the 3 point line. So he gives you an ability, like he's gonna knock down shots if you give it to him. He can. We all know about his finishing ability. Pause. But he's super athletic. Uh, yeah, I think this is the lineup. If you're not gonna have John Collins in there, which I don't know why you wanted, but I guess maybe they know something that we don't. I'm sure. So yeah, you got good depth coming off the bench too. Uh, like we said, Chris Paul, Chris Dunn, uh, John Collins, and Lopez. Like those are all guys that you could honestly just have out on the floor at the same time. Like it's solid. And then you also still have Bogey and Batum. Like this is like it's like a 11 man 11. You can go 11 deep, 10 deep.
Yeah, yeah. You saved me while ESPN was blasting ads at me, trying to figure out what their starting lineup was in the preseason games. Uh, yeah, I mean they're very deep, and you can argue that they're going to need that depth, but like it's a good starting lineup. You throw Beal into the same role that Norman Powell was last season, and you start to like Bradley Beal a little bit. You have Chris Dunn, who started a ton of games for them last year, and they had good results with Chris Dunn starting last year. But the pairing of Derrick Jones Jr., Kawhi, and Zubats was a plus 23 last year. Like, go ahead and see what that is while you're at it. And then Derrick Jones Jr. is still a decent point of attack defender. If you have some situations where you need another perimeter defender out there, you can obviously sub Chris Dunn into the lineup. They have a ton of versatility. They can play with the five out look with Brook Lopez. They can play with John Collins in a small ball look. Nick Batum, they played him at center for stretches in the playoffs. It wasn't great, but he defended Jokic all right in that first round series. And then, like, they have Bogey, who's still a good offensive player, and I really kind of like what they've done here. I don't know if they'll get anything from Jordan Brown or Matt or Cam Christie, but we'll just have to see. And Yonik is like at least a third center who can go out there if two of Zubats, Lopez, or Collins is unavailable. He can go out there and catch a lob. Uh, he'll probably start a lot of the year in the G League, but yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Like they're deep. They're a deep team. Uh, I really like how this rotation has shaped out. Do you think they're too old? The unction narrative, is it fair?
I mean, it's fair, but I think like come playoff time, that's not going to matter. Like I think the experience is definitely going to help. I mean, we heard a lot about like teams being unexperienced last season. I mean, that's pretty much all we heard about there in the playoffs. But these are all like really solid players. Like, um, they're not washed. Kawhi, Harden, and Zubac are still kicking it at a high level. Beal has shown the ability to still be able to shoot the ball as well. Um, I mean, like I said, and these are all guys that started like they play, and then you go to the bench and you have guys that have played a lot of games in Chris Paul and Lopez last season. So it's not like they're unreliable in that part. I'm not worried about the age at all. I think that this is going to be one of the top teams in the East or in the West. I'm really looking forward to this season for the Clippers, and I'm sure you'll see by my top my my rankings where I have them in the end of the year for the West predictions episode.
We're good.
Yeah,
All right, I'll go back and check that because it was tweaking. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about the unction narrative. Like you look at the bench and Lopez, Collins, Chris Paul, and Chris Dunn all started for NBA teams last year on the bench. Bogey was a guy who like was going into the year viewed as one of the best six men in the league, and then outside of his rough start to the year with Atlanta, he kind of was that. And then Nick Batum can play in the fourth quarter, so like the depth is there. Even if like they'll pick up an extra 20 games from health related stuff, like they'll miss an extra 20 games from health related stuff. Like they have the depth, and then we don't really talk about it too much, but the Clippers have one of the more advanced and well spent medical staffs in all of the NBA. They have the richest owner in all of major sports, so they gain that competitive advantage by spending the most money on medical side of things. Harden has been pretty injury free in his time with the Clippers. We'll see how that affects Bradley Beal. And Kawhi's a lost cause at this point, but Beal, maybe he doesn't pick up those extra, the extra second and third 3 week injuries that he gets throughout the course of his season. Maybe it's just he limits it to one. Um, Other than that, we'll move forward to core questions. Do we think the Los Angeles Clippers improved this offseason?
Honestly, yeah, I think they do. I really like this lineup now. I think that they like have something offensively. Like this was a really good defensive team last year, and that was their bread and butter. I think this is a team that could possibly be top 10 offense in the league next season. Um, Especially with the guys they brought in. Now that they have a lot of depth, they didn't lose too much. Like only one notable player, and you definitely made up for it in your additions. So, yeah, they improved.
I mean, even just looking at it year to year, like even some of their depth players that are good, they didn't have last year. Like when Bogey, they got him like very close to the end of the season. He was pretty good once he got there. Kawhi Leonard, they didn't have him for most of the season last season. He was pretty good towards the second half of the year. Ben Simmons, they didn't have for most of the season last year. So you go back and look, it's like, who were they playing in the first half of the year? And none of those guys are on the team anymore. The team has clearly gotten better throughout, from the time of last year, like, has gotten incrementally better, like leaps and bounds. Um, and now they've gone this offseason and they've gone from, replacing Norman Powell with Bradley Beal and John Collins and Brooke Lopez and Chris Paul, and that's good. They improved this offseason. Like I will go ahead and we'll talk about it more extensively in the full predictions episode in a week. But I'm it's weird where we're gonna have to talk about the Clippers this year. It's gonna be really weird. Uh, do we think they set themselves up better for the future?
Um, No, I'll say no. I think this is like a very short championship window for this team. Um, like 2 years, like max. Low key, this might need to be the year. We were kind of saying that last year. They didn't draft any like crazy guys in the draft. A lot of project type players. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with no. But I still like what they did.
Yeah, they drafted the 45th best player in the draft with the 30th pick, and then had a scandal announced that might cost them all of their picks for the foreseeable future. Yeah, I think they set themselves up worse this offseason, even if like tangibly they didn't really mortgage anything in the future. It's just yeah, they did the normal Clippers thing with the 30th overall pick, where they just throw it away basically. Not throw it away, but like they take a heavy reach on an old college player. Yeah. Offensive MVP for them this season. Who do we got?
Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. Offensive MVP. I'll go James Harden. I'll go back with James Harden because not only does he give you scoring, but he gives you like really good playmaking. We talked about it in our shooting guard tier list episode a while back. How his playmaking has just evolved over his career, and this season having 8 assists. just really good stuff. I'm gonna go with James Harden. I think he gives you a lot of versatility.
Yeah, he was a big positive for them last season offensively. Did a lot of heavy lifting for them. Um, I know just because I've seen the numbers, I know Zubats had a bigger on-off swing, but uh, I think a lot of that is, uh, James Harden and Zubats had a weird, where they kind of had to stagger last year, and James Harden was then in turn playing with Mo Bamba. Uh, and
I got
Zubats did not have to play with Mo Bamba. So
yeah.
that's the huge difference. Zubats is my defensive MVP though.
Mm, I was about to say the same thing. Big Sue, your scheme kind of relies about around him, like just letting guys get to the paint, funnel it to him. Let Big Zoo work. I'm expecting another great season from Big Zoo and also this Clippers team.
And then X Factor for them, what do we have?
Yeah, I mean obviously health, but I'll say Bradley Beal. Let's see what if he comes and actually like provides him a really good scoring spark. Hopefully he's more consistent than some of his time in Phoenix. I think he will be. Let's see if he can get back to a little bit of the scoring that he had in Washington. Maybe he gets more on ball reps, a little bit more ISO reps in this Clippers offense, a lot more open threes. Uh, yeah, I'll go Brad.
Yeah, I think Beal's my answer as well. The health with him, I think he's the one guy who health is his big X factor. I think Kawhi's just a lock to miss like 25 games. Beal, I think, could potentially be healthy, even though, he hasn't played more than 60 games in 8 years now. So, maybe that is the wrong thing to say, but I have more belief in him being award eligible than Kawhi. I'll say it that way. Um, if he can go back to, he didn't even have to be like Washington Wizards scoring. Like, just do what Norman Powell did last season, just like slightly better. And I think he can do that. I think he can average 23 a game. He can, maybe the scoring efficiency is like about the same, but the 3-point scoring is slightly lower since there's more on ball shots. But I think he can do a lot of those things, and I think he'll be good for them next season. At the very least, they can use him more as a movement shooter, and I think Bradley Beal's a great X factor. I think another thing we could pitch for X factor, and this is our time to talk about it, is the Kawhi Leonard aspiration
Mm.
stuff. How do we think that affects the
I mean, I
2026 team?
the last thing I saw that it was cleared, like everything was cleared up. That was the last I saw of it, and that there's going to be no like any punishment coming from it. I may be mistaken in that, but like that's what I saw. So um, saw a
Hold up.
couple. Is this true? Am I being fact checked live?
I'm yeah, because I had not heard that this was uh cleared. Yeah, I don't know if it's cleared, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to. There's like basically no way for the NBA to run an investigation and throw down a punishment for this season. Is how I
And I
would think
saw
about it.
things. I may have been getting trolled, but I kept seeing like what was it? That they're gonna redo the whole the
Yeah,
Shea
that
stick
yeah,
thing.
that's a ball
Okay,
sack sports.
okay.
Yeah.
I was like, "There's no way, bro. Like, what are they talking about?" I'm glad I didn't bite the bait there too hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to see. I probably won't be able to find it, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a little shady. Um, Obviously, very shady. Kawhi's trying to get his money. Uh, but like from what I've read, like they haven't really found anything wrong with it. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to affect them in like a crazy way. Like maybe they lose picks, but I honestly don't like see anything coming from the investigation, and I don't think they'll be penalized as hard as people may want them to be, or even think they will be.
Yeah, it's a very like circumstantial paper trail, and I've been following up a lot with the Pablo Torre reporting. It's quite awesome. I think it is going to be a lengthy process if they are to find anything from wrongdoing wise from the Clippers. And I think if
Okay,
there's wrongdoing,
I
uh,
got this is legal alerts.
okay,
Legal alerts a day ago. The NBA vetted and approved the $300 million sponsorship deal between the Clippers and Aspiration.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there you go.
not really related to the case. I mean, it kind
Oh,
of is, but
oh, it's not.
yeah, that's not the Kawhi deal. But
Oh, I'm tweaking. I'm tweaking. It literally said Clippers. Yeah,
yeah, but
my bad.
if they were to find like serious circumvention, Kawhi Leonard, his contract would be voided, and I don't think it's good for the league for Kawhi Leonard to go onto the open market where he can only sign a league minimum. I don't think like that's not going to be something that they're going to want to do in the middle of the season. They're going like if they're going to do something, he's going to get voided after the season. The Clippers will get tanked with draft pick punishment. And if they do want to, void his contract, they will suspend him for the rest of the season. So another team can't sign Kawhi Leonard for a minimum. Because that's gonna be great for the league. Kawhi Leonard goes to the Thunder for league minimum. Gonna be great. Um, yeah, I don't know how this is gonna boil over on the current team. Like I saw something that one of the his teammates was poking fun at it. So maybe it's not a big deal around the team. Um, so I don't know. I'm trying to read up on which teammate it was. Uh, it was literally Zoo. Um, Okay. I don't know what the context of this was or what even the statement was, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not affecting the clubhouse and they'll be fine. We'll ultimately see how we predict them for this upcoming year. Other than that, do we have any Clippers notes?
No, I'm excited to see where even I put him. Might be pretty high. Might be pretty high.
It just might be. It just might be. Thankfully, we'll have literally the day the NBA season starts will be when we're doing the episode, so that'll be great. Other than that, that'll do it for this one. Next episode will be the Golden State Warriors, and that is the final episode of this. Well, not the final episode, but the final team of this off season. We'll see you guys then.